very much again for having me. My name is Josh Disbrow. As Tony said, I'm the co-founder and chief executive officer of Aytu BioPharma. Our ticker symbol on the NASDAQ is AYTU. And I thank you again for having us at the presentation today. This is our second time presenting. Thanks for having us back. And some of you've heard the Aytu story before, perhaps, and so this will serve, I think, as a good update on some of our progress. For anyone who's new to the story, you're hearing the story certainly at an interesting time and a very exciting time for the company as we complete a significant transformation that has really positioned us well for the future. So, thanks again for attending the presentation. Before I get started, I'll just remind you that I may be sharing some forward-looking information. So this is our obligatory forward-looking statement, as is customary. So let's just jump right into it. I mean, first of all, Aytu is a commercial stage biopharmaceutical company based here in the United States. We're focused on commercializing products, mostly in the US, although I'll share with you that we have recently signed a couple of licensing deals outside the United States to expand our footprint. We're currently focused on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, as it's called, as well as on pediatrics. And we've grown the company over the last several years through a series of strategic acquisitions, headlined by the acquisition of Neos Therapeutics in 2021, just after the pandemic. Since shortly after that acquisition, we undertook a significant strategic realignment to focus the company really on the profitable and the growing prescription portion of our business. We had acquired various businesses, inclusive of a consumer business, and had brought on a couple of development stage assets that came with various transactions. And ultimately, we looked at really what we wanted to do, which was drive cash flow, and focused on shutting down any of those businesses or divesting any of those businesses that didn't make sense to drive cash flow. And through the acquisition of Neos, we picked up a manufacturing facility, among other things. We shut down that facility, and that was a huge part of improving margins. As you see, that we've dramatically improved our EBITDA profile from a negative 35 million just a few years ago to positive over 9 million and growing. And we've really undertaken a significant effort to improve, not just grow top line, but certainly drive bottom line improvements by virtue of getting out of the manufacturing facilities I mentioned, driving down costs, streamlining the business, and again, really focusing the business. And that is essentially now complete. With the transformation we've undertaken, we've now posted 2 consecutive years of positive EBITDA. EBITDA essentially tripled year on year. Our most recently reported fiscal year, which ended June, again, company-wide of 9.2. Our prescription segment was actually more like 10 plus million, and it was up from 3.5 million the year prior. So we've made tremendous progress in getting the company very well positioned as we look to the next phase of growth. We want to get to consistent cash flow, not just operating cash flow or operating income, but consistent cash flow beyond EBITDA. And the team's been working very hard over the last couple of years. We are getting ready to hand the keys over to the landlord for our manufacturing facility, as we have now finally outsourced the manufacturing of our ADHD brands. With the transition essentially behind us now, we are exclusively focused on the prescription business, and we are focused on the growth of our prescription ADHD product line and our pediatric product line. We're focused on value creation through that product growth, as well as through our innovative RX Connect platform, which I'll share a little bit on. And we're also focused on growing through new product opportunities. We ultimately have a platform. We have a commercial infrastructure that enables us to bring in products, put them onto our platform, grow those products, do it very efficiently with a lean, very efficient sales force that's scattered around the United States. And we've also got opportunities to bring products to ex-US markets, inclusive of China, by the way, which is a market that we are considering, a rapidly growing market for ADHD products in particular. We also remain very committed to these ongoing operational improvements. While we've realized a lot of improvements in margin over the last couple of years, we believe we have more product or more margin to improve, both in gross margin as well as net margin, to get us to operating income and ultimately to cash flow. And again, we really do view ourselves as a platform. We have a plug and play mindset to bring in new assets, and the first of which we are now bringing to market here. It's another ADHD asset, but it's not a product that we developed, and is ultimately a product that we believe is very well, very well positioned. It's a growing market. It's a very large market in the US. It's expanding tremendously in the US, expanding even more outside the US in markets like China, as I mentioned. So these products are unique. They're proprietary. And we believe ultimately this Aytu can be a compelling story to investors on the basis of our current growth and ultimately where we believe. Look, we think Aytu represents a very compelling valuation story to investors. If you look at our numbers, if you look at where our market cap is, and these are a bit dated, the slides are a few weeks old now, but based on the numbers for our 10K, which was filed back in September, Aytu trades at 1.3 times enterprise value to EBITDA. Put that in perspective. From a market comp perspective, if you look at US-based specialty pharmaceutical companies, most pharma companies trade at 10 plus times EBITDA. We're at 1.3 times. We believe the market may not yet be aware of the fact that we've undergone this transformation, made a big transition over the last couple of years, and it may explain some of the disconnect and the dislocation in the value. If you look at the year ending June 30, which again we reported just back in September, we posted over 65 million in prescription revenue. And that is the revenue for the business that really represents the go-forward business for the company, a prescription business. 75% gross margins in that business. Our ADHD portfolio is the headliner. Those products grew 23% year on year, so very nice growth. And again, when looking specifically at the prescription business, our 10K is inclusive of parts of the business that are no longer active and that have since been wound down or are essentially going to be wound down. If you look at just the RX portion, we posted positive EBITDA of approximately 11 million for the year, 10.8 million. So, and then we've got cash on hand of 20 million. So we're trading at significantly less than even our cash on hand. We do have 15 million in debt, although that doesn't mature until June of 28, so quite a ways out. And then that 15 million is actually inclusive of a term note, which is about 13 million. It's a fully amortizing note. We expect that for interest or principal rather to be paid down to about 6 million by the time it matures in 2028. And then we have a revolver for working capital and which we utilize periodically. We've maintained this cash position of $20 million for about 3 quarters now. So essentially we are self-funding. So we believe it's the right time to be looking at Aytu from an investment profile standpoint. A little bit about our products. We commercialize novel branded products in the ADHD category and in pediatric prescription categories. Adzenys XR-ODT is an amphetamine. Cotempla XR-ODT is a methylphenidate. These are both stimulants that treat ADHD, again, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They compete with market-leading products like Adderall XR, if you've heard of that, or Concerta. And both of our ADHD products are orally disintegrating tablets, and they're the only ODTs on the planet. They dissolve very rapidly, so they enable rapid effect and symptom improvement. They last a full 12 hours. They're good tasting and long-lasting, of course, lasting a full 12 hours. Many ADHD patients will report that their ADHD stimulants like Adderall XR will wear off well before they need them to, well before sort of the early evening hours during sports activities, or if you're working late like some of us are here, your effect may have worn off. With Adzenys and Cotempla, you're going to get a full 12 hours of relief to get that symptom relief. Adzenys is FDA approved as bioequivalent to Adderall XR, which is important as that is the market leader. And so we can tell physicians that you have an easier to take, more palatable, fast acting Adderall that will last a full 12 hours. So it provides consistency over many of the Adderall XR generics, as that is a generic market. And Cotempla, our methylphenidate, has very strong clinical data in children and adolescents showing symptom improvement within an hour, which is very, very rapid. Moving to our pediatric products, they're headlined by our liquid antihistamine called Carbinol-ER and our multivitamin franchise, Poly-Vi-Flor and Tri-Vi-Flor. Carbinol is the only long-acting carbinoxamine, which is a very potent, very effective antihistamine. It's very well established, is indicated for numerous allergies, and really is effective. The multivitamins contain fluoride that is necessarily to prevent dental caries or cavities. But the products also contain a combination of multivitamins inclusive of a proprietary to Aytu L-methylfolate called arcofolin, which is a proprietary folic acid that is body ready and it's highly bioavailable. So these products are unique, they're branded, they compete in large markets, and they really have done well in their respective marketplaces. Slide 7, it really shows how these products have grown. And what I'll say is we've shown consistent growth across the ADHD portfolio. The really tremendous growth when you look at the ADHD portfolio just a few years ago of just over 200,000 prescriptions of Adzenys. That's now up to 300,000. Cotempla is a bit flat. That's a more stagnant market. So Adzenys really has been the lead product. Our pediatric products, while they grew, frankly, they grew to the point of some might say excess, such that one of the payers stopped paying for some of our products in that category. So we took a bit of a step back in 2024, but we're back on a growth trajectory now and excited about some of the things we put in place to get those products back moving. But if you look net, our aggregate combined TRXs are up from 420,000 or so in 21 to almost 500,000. So very nice growth, steady, solid in markets that are really nicely growing, that continue to be robust. And again, these are just prescriptions based in the US. If you look at our revenues, similar story, but a really nice growth trajectory from 2021 all the way through 24, getting up to almost 60 million for the ADHD products. We did get up to 25 million on the pediatric products. And frankly, if we can just grow our products back from where they are to maybe where they were back in 22, you're talking about a company that is significantly cash flowing. There's no reason to believe we can't get our products, Carbinol in particular, growing substantially, such that we go from 7.5 or so million to well over 10, 12, potentially higher, again, closer to that $16 million number. So we're excited about our revenue growth. And, again, ADHD revenue increased 23% year on year, up to 58 million from the 47 million the year prior. And again, we do expect to see a rebound in our pediatric products. And if you look at product shipments, in last quarter from July to September, product shipments for our pediatric products are up over 130%. So they're starting to show some growth based on some of the efforts we put in place over the last quarter to redirect some of our promotional resources, some of our sales representatives, and so forth. A centerpiece of our commercial efforts is what we call Aytu Rx Connect. And that is a proprietary in-house developed patient access program, and it really is first in class. It's an absolute game changer for patients and prescribers as it connects patients to our brands and makes life simpler for them, and as importantly, for the prescribers of our products. When we engage with prescribers, we ask them to simply send them to a participating Rx Connect pharmacy. It's a partner pharmacy, of which there are about 1,100 or about 1,000. And through various mechanics that we've set up and developed from scratch, and various patient support systems and pharmacy analytics platforms, et cetera, we ensure that every commercially insured patient, we ensure that every single patient is eligible to essentially get their products for no more than $50 US, which is very inexpensive, very, very inexpensive by US standards. And we do this through a network of pharmacies, and these pharmacies ensure that they are available, that they're stocking, products are available at a good price. And by working with these pharmacies and having physicians get comfortable with these as true partners in these patients' care, we minimize callbacks from pharmacies. We ensure that physicians get a smooth experience. The physician office doesn't get overburdened with insurance hassles, and it makes life very easy. And it really works for everybody involved. The prescribing physician, the dispensing pharmacist, the patient adherence improves. It's a win-win-win across the board. And ultimately, what you see with Rx Connect, and it does add significant value for patients, for providers, for pharmacies, and of course for Aytu as well. It's a way for us to really optimize the patient experience, but it's as importantly an opportunity for Aytu, the company, to really have visibility and control over these prescriptions. We know where they're being dispensed. We know how much patients are paying. We know exactly the dynamic, how frequently they're getting refills. And what's important is it benefits the patient, because as opposed to getting our prescriptions filled at a pharmacy that's not part of the network, they see an improvement in cost. They get a 30% reduction on average in their out-of-pocket cost. Most importantly for us, we get the benefit of increased refills, more than doubling refill rates in our pharmacy network versus an external national chain pharmacy. These are mostly independent pharmacies that we work directly with. They purchase directly, in many cases, from the company, and we get access to these prescriptions. We have direct relationships and have high levels of visibility to the entire interaction. We also have a sales force that covers the United States. It's lean, it's leverageable, and we really participate in most of the major geographies around the country. We've even now put sales representatives in Southern California. And we ultimately are able to cover the lion's share of the $12 billion ADHD market. We cover over half of the market here in the US with our direct sales force. We pick up over three-fourths of the market when we are augmenting it with our pharmacy partners and some of the non-personal promotional pieces that we utilize. And so net, we really are covering a big chunk of the market, which again is a $12 billion market in just the United States. So while small, we're very nimble, we're very efficient, but we're at the same time, we're able to cast a very wide net into this very large $12 billion market. But we're not satisfied with just maximizing opportunities in the US. One key growth driver for us is to grow the company and grow our brands outside the US. In key markets, some of which are listed here, we see potential in the ADHD category of over $1.5 billion US. Ultimately, we're going to capture, we think, a big part of that opportunity by virtue of licensing our assets to partners outside the US. We have 2 deals in hand already. One we have in Israel, and most recently here in Canada with a global pharma player called Lupin. These licensing deals stand to bring in an additional licensing revenue and starts to do it pretty meaningfully. This is high margin business. We'll get a transfer price that has a margin, then we'll get a royalty and a milestone, and various other kickers in there. We expect some of these to start materializing in the next 18 to 24 months. We've realized some small amount of cash in the first deals, and we expect to look for other deals in other markets. China is a market that we would consider. So looking forward to expanding outside the US. These are our first ex-US deals, and we think an opportunity to really significantly enhance our operating profile as we think about the ADHD market at large, not just in the US. Financials you see here, $65 million in RX revenue, almost $11 million in EBITDA for the prescription business. This is what the go-forward business looks like. We're significantly decreasing our operating expenses as we wind things down and efficiently get things under control. So essentially, you're looking at a business that pro forma is operating profitable and one that we believe can grow with this cost basis and this cost structure. So ultimately, we are well positioned, having really wrung a lot of expenses out of the system, growing our products, growing particularly the ADHD franchise, and now looking at expansion outside the US. So happy to take questions at this point. So thanks very much.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. So, all right, let's dive into the first question from Peter. And he asked that what's the company's current cash position as at end of October this year?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Peter. We last reported cash September 30th, and it was $20 million. Important to note that we had $20 million in the September quarter, in the June quarter, in the March quarter, and the December quarter prior to that. So we essentially are maintaining our cash position. We're not in any substantial level of burn. A little bit of working capital changes here and there, but we're essentially cash neutral. So not quite building cash yet, but we are, we're certainly holding on to our cash.
Great. Another question is that any specific action plans to improve share liquidity?
We're always trying to find ways to optimize our share liquidity, doing conferences like this, trying to bring on investors that are interested in microcap stocks, that are interested in US-based commercial stage companies. I think for us, it's just going to continue to take constant communication about what we're doing to get the company right size as we've done, make sure people are following that story. And we really are consistently beating the drum to make sure people see this is a real company with real products and real revenues. And it's just a matter of, I think, people coming to the fact that this is a dislocated stock that people just need to uncover. And we're doing things like this on a routine basis to find investors all over the planet to come to the story. Great.
Last question is maybe that any plan into Chinese market?
Potentially, as I alluded to, we've obviously looked at various markets that we've entered through these licensing deals, Canada and Israel. China, as you might expect, is a relatively fast-growing ADHD market, primarily for our product, Cotempla. That'll be a market that we look at, and we would likely be looking for licensing partners. So if there's anyone in attendance here on the call that is familiar with the Chinese pharmaceutical market, that is potentially has access to potential Chinese partners, we are actively considering partnering our products in the mainland and Hong Kong.